topvelocity.net, doing a pitch analysis here of Will. We'll pair him up with Chapman. We got two big guys here. Just big difference in the movements we're ultimately going to see is just being able to build the linear power necessary to really put torsion or torque in the body, which converts that power to the ball. So let's take Will here into his leg lift. Take Chapman here into his leg lift. Okay, notice coming into the peak of his lift, we see him falling hard, shifting weight, lift leg, pulling away from that linear move, initiating with the hips and the upper body, or falling through the upper body, but leading with the hips. We also see the force vector moving pretty hard. If we watch Will coming up into the peak of his lift here, we see, if anything, we just see kind of we see a light shift. We don't see that really more relaxed fall is what it is. You don't see Chapman tensing up at all. He's just picking the leg up and just starting to fall into it, leading with the hips, lift leg pulling back, staying relaxed, not trying to crouch or tighten up. And I can just kind of see Will is just, with he's already starting to squat down. He just looks a little bit less fluid at this point, which would ultimately come learning how to relax and shift your weight instead of trying to aggressively go at the target right out of the leg lift. So let's take you into your load. So coming out of your leg lift, we see your lift leg going right up front there. From your lift leg coming down, we don't see a lot of forward movement. You're starting to move now. You're breaking your glove side pretty high, which shows you're still trying to be, or to me it shows that you're already starting to try to get your upper half initiated, or your upper half starting the delivery. We don't want that happening until front foot. The upper half should just be getting in position. It just looks a little aggressive. You're also opening your front side. When you open your front side too, not only do you take power from your back leg, but it also shows you just are ready to put down. When we open up, we want to put down. So your front side's open and your lift leg knee's broken, your front hip. Watch Chapman. Let's wait till his lift leg knee breaks his front hip and his front side opens and his glove side gets up. So his glove side's up to where you are, about, probably right about here, and his lift leg knee breaks his front hip next frame here, and his foot is still closed. Then he opens. So pretty much where you are right here is where he is in a full stride at this point, with a good linear force vector, which we can see coming right through here. Sorry, my mouse is jumping. Okay. So, and and ultimately, look, it's going to be the same thing too. Chapman 2-3 frames, he's down, but in that long stride, he's built more momentum up to this point. He's kept his hips closed to this point, and he doesn't initiate force through that hip or allow his hips to start to power open until just before he lands. And he's going to open his front side, and he's going to kick through and extend and power his backside through triple extension. And then when he lands, his hips slam open and his throwing arm cocks. Your front side's been open for a while. Come around to your leg lift, so you reach out a little bit. You put down, your heel pops up. You land with your foot still in the rubber. You can see Chapman here is a good foot off the rubber. So no leg drive initiated here. Your shoulders have stayed closed. You've kept your arm from cocking too early, which even though your glove side looked like it was going to be very aggressive, your throwing arm side stayed down and waited for front foot strike, which is a great move for you. That's a benefit. That's going to be a plus that will really help you as you learn to build more stride power. And then you cock going into front foot, which is great. Your hips open here, which gives your hips time to open. So your hips open here, and then your shoulders come through after. So you have, decent hip to shoulder separation, maybe 30 degrees, which is above average for most low velocity pitchers, but you're a tall, lanky guy, so I have to look at this like I would look at, say, the rubber band analogy. If I've got a long and skinny rubber band, a short and fat rubber band, for you to generate a lot of energy and speed and power from that long and skinny, it's going to pull back. It just is going to have to pull back very far. So you're someone like Chapman, you're going to have to get this kind of hip to shoulder separation to really be in a high velocity category than something around 30 degrees. So we usually say 40 to 60 degrees of hip to shoulder separation is a high velocity pitcher. Chapman being in that 60 to 65, more than likely past 60. You're just coming to low 40s if you're getting close there. So you learn this move. You learn how to shift your momentum leading through your hip, staying fluid and relaxed, lift leg pulling away to give it more time to line the force vector. So you continue to pick up speed instead of letting your lift leg get out early. As you can see, Chapman, by letting his lift leg come back, he continues to pick up speed through his body. His lift leg knee breaks his front hip at the point where his force vector is in a perfect linear position. Your lift leg knee breaks your front hip right out of the gate, and you're still very vertical. So your hips are starting to rotate right out of the gate, so your drive leg's turning down. We can see your back foot wanting to get up and through, going into front foot, but because it was so vertical, and because everything was opening and your drive leg was internally rotating and collapsing, it couldn't really build any force, any power. So you can just see the distance and the difference in the stride lengths if we look at them here. Obvious difference. We're looking at something, 100% of height to 60% of height. Potential more force production through here, less force production. But because the timing of your throwing arm into that cocked position was really good, you were able to initiate some hip to shoulder separation. But when your shoulders do go into rotation, you have very little external rotation because of the poor energy built through the initial part of the delivery or through the stride. Which when we look at Chapman there, he gets that forward trunk tilt. He gets that forward trunk tilt with that optimal external rotation. You're very vertical, not fully externally rotated. You finish vertical. He finishes linear with an extended front leg and forward trunk tilt. We want to be able to get to this point. This is when all those conventional coaches say you got to get over your front side. Ultimately, the key is to get through a long stride, get power through a long stride, break those forces at front foot, stabilize those forces, extend back into those forces. That will project the upper body first into hip to shoulder separation and then into forward trunk tilt ultimately before pitch release. That's what puts us into a high velocity category. That's what takes all that force and power we potentially generated through that 100% stride up the kinetic chain into the ball. And someone like you here will, that is a significant jump in velocity, 10, 15 miles per hour in the case of basically looking at your mechanics here. But to be able to do that, we have to have the strength, we have to have the motor coordination, we have to have the speed and potentially the power to move through these full strides and convert into this kind of hip to shoulder separation and continue to transfer that energy through the front leg into pitch release. That takes a lot of athleticism that we're going to develop in a strength and conditioning program like in the 3x pitching velocity program, and give you some key drills, throwing drills to help you implement these movements, these long stride movements, triple extension before front foot strike, good front leg extension before pitch release, hip to shoulder separation, and a maximum external rotation. So the advice is, if you're going to do this on your own, you learn how to master front foot strike, how to peak force into front foot through a full stride, and how that feels into hip to shoulder separation. And then you're going to learn, like we do later on in the program, the 3x pitching velocity program, how to go lift to load and get linear before you build those forces to potentially allow you to build more forces. And also, too, at the same time, you're learning how to convert and transfer to the end. But master front foot strike first, then and move into pitch release, and then start building a better stride, a longer stride, a more explosive stride. And that really is your key to being a 90+ mile an hour guy with some in your frame. That could potentially be very possible. But don't avoid the strength program, the power approach to this. It's really key, and that's why Chapman is so good at doing this. He's an exceptional elite athlete, and you got to put yourself in that category first. Hope that helps, Will. Appreciate you guys sending in the videos, and let me know if you have any questions.